Good morning. Happy Friday.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We hope y'all had a blessed Easter weekend and just full of blessings and family fun and just celebrating our Lord. But we want to, this Friday, this is a special podcast because we are so excited. I mean, Joe and I might jump up and down during the podcast, but we have our wonderful new executive director and director of nursing, Mary O'Hagan, with us today. She is an RN and a BSN. She has so much experience in the healthcare industry, in pediatrics and geriatrics, and we are so beyond blessed to have her on our team. And just want to kind of just talk to you about your history, what brought you into healthcare to begin with.
First of all, thank you for having me. And I'm just as excited to be here.
We welcome you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. It's kind of a long story, but I entered the University of Texas as a journalism major. I really thought I wanted to be a writer. Had a dream one night my freshman year that I was going to be a nurse, that I was a nurse. I was actually an acting nurse. Woke up and decided to change my major, went into nursing, and never looked back.
That's amazing.
It was amazing. I truly felt like it was a calling, definitely.
Wow.
So here I am.
So what did you get into first? What was your kind of specialty after nursing school? What was your first passion?
Right after nursing school, I did an internship at Children's Medical Center in their ICU. It was a 6-month orientation. It was amazing. So loved ICU, did pediatric ICU there for 6 years.
Wow.
Left there, my dream was to become a flight nurse. So I left the ICU and became a flight nurse at Medical City Hospital, and we did neonates, like 23-week gestation up to 21 years of age. And we did ground transport, Learjet, fixed wing, and helicopter. So that was very exciting. We did 24-hour shifts at the hospital, slept there. And then I had got pregnant with my first child and got grounded and no longer wanted to do 24-hour shifts in the hospital. So I kind of went back to the ICU at Children's and worked there for a year and a half or so and had another child and took some time off. So that got me started into my nursing career. And then when I was at home, I had a dear friend that I'd been on the transport team with who said, I'm doing geriatric home care. Would you be interested in shadowing me, coming and seeing, what I do? And I said, yes, I would love that. And I ended up shadowing her and fell in love with geriatrics and that population and went to work for a local home care company doing Medicare visits for about 5 years.
Wow.
So that's what I went from pediatrics to geriatrics.
But don't you think there are a lot of similarities? They're just bigger little people.
Exactly.
They're, to me, there's so much similarity in the two.
I agree completely. Yeah. It was wonderful and warmed my heart. And then I got the opportunity to become a director of nursing with a local home care company and was there 10 years.
That's wonderful. Yeah. What led you to kind of want to talk with Joe and maybe be interested in Acappella? And I know her talking with you. What was that process?
I remember meeting Joe for the very first time at, I think it was a TAC meeting.
It was. We sat beside each other.
Oh, and I just...
It was love at first sight, I'm sure.
I did. I mean, I was just like, I love you. But yeah, so we kind of developed a professional relationship, and I'd run into her in various places, and her just the best reputation in the Dallas Metroplex. I mean, everywhere I turn, Acappella. And of course, I'm in a competing agency, and I just was so interested in Acappella. Of course, hot pink drew me. Favorite color. I was like, oh my gosh, that is the best signature color I've ever seen. And I knew that it was a faith-based company, which just I loved. I mean, it's so rare to find just faith at the center of a practice of any kind. And we'd had multiple encounters and lunches and talked, and I just felt led here. I mean, I truly did. But just the utmost respect for Jo, what she's done, what she's accomplished, the reputation. So,
well, and what I love about you is not only your heart, but you really do understand that private duty customer. And not a lot of nurses understand, when somebody is writing a check for care, it is different than you going into a hospital or you go to a doctor's office and you don't have control of whoever comes in and takes your vital signs or takes a history information. But in the home, we're guests in their home. And so you have to wear a hat, your hat a little differently as a private duty home care nurse, even different from a Medicare home care nurse. Because we are in their home. We're there for hours. We get to know their family. We get to know their dogs. Their likes and dislikes. So share, as far as private duty, I know you've been doing this a long time. And there are a lot of nurses that are wonderful in private duty. There are nurses that aren't so great in private duty. So when you've been looking to build a team and find RNs, what are you looking for in that? What makes that RN unique that would fit in a home environment?
That's a great question. When I would do interviews, I mean, obviously I'd look at their countenance and the way they express themselves, and eye contact was so important, and confidence. I mean, I think you have to have confidence to walk into somebody's home and, be a guest in their home, but be able to work with, VIPs and, people with very specific needs and requests. And I would always ask the question, what is what do you consider your greatest strength? And I really listen and pay attention to that. And, the answers varied, but I mean, when they felt like it was truly a calling and that they had so much compassion for that population, and that always drew me to them a lot. Of course, experience was huge. I wanted a diverse experience. I wanted, I did expect geriatric experience at that point. But truly, I don't know if it's intuition after doing this for so long. I'm sure you feel the same way. When you meet someone, you can see it, you can feel it, it's palpable that they care about that, care about their profession, care about the population we care for. So I think a lot of it came from gut instinct too, but definitely profoundly looking at their history and the answers to my questions.
Well, and if nurses think they can come in and do private duty and it's just an easy way to make money, that is the wrong nurse that we're looking for. And everybody needs to make money, of course. We all have to work, all of us working nurses. But it's just somebody that has that little additional polish and just care about others and going above and beyond. And that's what we want. As a team, we try to, I feel like everybody can help. You can wear lots of hats. And I think that's what makes Acappella so successful too, is everybody's willing to pitch in on whatever whatever the needs are. We had a patient who passed away a couple of weeks ago, and the patient's wife just wanted somebody in her home to make sure things were safe and nobody stole anything or broke into her house. And so that was a shift today. So, my thing was be polite, dress nice, not like the funeral is today. So not like you're going to a funeral, just be respectful of where they are, and I think that's the thing, is just putting yourself in their shoes. When you walk into a home, you're their friend for the day. So what would, try to read what they would like for you to do. So anyway.
And that's what I've seen too, with just not being from the healthcare industry and seeing, especially recently, kind of a lot of our the nurses that are coming into interview, and we have one specifically who's interning with us as well. And there is just that level of professionalism, but also it is just making sure that we are guests in their home. And that's what I love so much about Acappella, is that even when I first started and was working shifts that's what we do. When you say we all pitch in together and we just get it done, being able to serve the client and to have that expectation, and the Neiman Marcus of healthcare companies and private duty agencies is what we all strive for Acappella to be. And just being able to have that level, no matter if it's in the office or if we're out in a home, wherever that is. And so can you give us an example of just a stellar story maybe that you had under when you were at your previous company, of just maybe something that was a little bit, the nurse maybe went above and beyond, or just kind of a specific example, if you could, like, just top of mind, of just something that was so wonderful, or a case that you were on, or a person you served maybe, or just what do you, just something above and beyond that people, just to kind of be encouraging, to say, step out of your comfort zone. I'm not a nurse. I prayed about it at one point, but that's why I love learning from you fabulous, smart nurses, because it's so wonderful to have that information. But what is something that has really touched you or stayed with you from your past experience?
I think one of the biggest stories that sticks with me is when I first started with my previous company. We had a very critical patient that lived in Denton. I don't want to get too specific. Had been in a serious accident, and we had 24/7 nursing with aides. Client was on a ventilator. It was a very high acuity case, very difficult personality to deal with. And I had such an amazing, devoted team out there that one of the main nurses, who I'm still friends with and in contact with, has been there for over a decade and ended up working for, we took care of them for maybe 3 years, and then they ended up switching agencies. But she ended up going with the other agency and continued to take care of them, go above and beyond. But these nurses and caregivers, I mean, they had a handicap van. They had, to prepare all the meals, take care of every aspect of his life. It was extremely difficult. And I would go to Denton and have staff meetings and, try to provide the clinical oversight. But it was just the dedication of those people in such a extreme situation that, just solidified my faith in my team.
It also starts from the top. People, especially, I know, would want to make sure that they're doing everything they could to serve you well, just like with Acappella. We want to make sure that we're serving the Lord by serving each other, but it starts at the top. What Joe has created, and being a nurse yourself and setting that expectation, because you go into homes and you look and say, to some of our clients, this isn't right. This isn't, this is what our expectation is. This is the standard, just whatever it is. And it has to be the utmost, professional, above and beyond, excellent care. And which is what I think is just so amazing, and which is so great that you're here now too. It's all just, the level is there, and I'm learning so much just by talking to you, and with your experience too.
Well, and I feel like our staff is just a reflection of us. And so, that's what I just try to say. If you were taking care of your loved one, what expectations would you have? What would, if you, this was what I tell our nurses and our caregivers, if you were writing a check for care, what would your expectation be? And if they kind of have to put themselves in the shoes of that client. And that's what I try to reiterate. What would you want? What kind of care would you want? What kind of care would you want for your mother or father? And just lead by example, Well,
I know too, there are a lot of people don't really understand what the level of work that it is to be a nurse, whether it's private duty, whether it's hospital, like you were, Joe had touched on earlier. And I know that there are a couple of negative articles out there right now, people talking about a senator specifically talking about that nurses just sit around and play cards, and that is. Can you speak to that, and what's your thoughts on that?
I absolutely can. I found it insulting. Of course, I'm actually been invited on a Facebook group it's nurses who play cards.
I have too.
You have too. Yeah. So I'm a member of the nurses who play cards, and I mean the stories and it's actually pretty entertaining to see the posts, but. I think it's pure ignorance on her part, that she has absolutely no idea what a nurse does on a daily basis. Of course, coming from the ICU background and working 12-hour shifts that turned into 16-hour shifts, if you had a client that coded at the end of the day or passed, you were lucky to ever use the restroom, to have a meal. You were eating stale donuts out of the break room. I mean, there wasn't time to think about a card, much less play cards. So I think it's sheer ignorance, and it's insulting. And I saw a post. There's a doctor that does a blog, and his name is totally escaping me because I had just saw it for the first time. But he went into just a full dialogue on this post yesterday on Facebook, just defending nurses and how we're their partners and they couldn't do their job without us, and how they had just the utmost respect for our profession, and anyone who didn't is just, they're ridiculous. I mean, essentially ridiculous.
That is ridiculous.
It is.
Well, and I know that there was an article in the New York Times the other day about this senator and the nurse playing cards. And there is a petition that a nurse has nurses signing. It's change.org. And yesterday at 2, she had 772,000 signatures.
Wow!
And so I think that the senator has apologized and has agreed to work a 12-hour shift with someone just to see. I know when I worked in the county hospital, when I first became a nurse, I worked at Parkland here in Dallas, and I literally needed roller skates. I was on the general medical floor, and I was running there was so much to do. I was running from patient to patient. You're right. You did not have time to go to the bathroom or take a lunch break. And if you did take a lunch break, you couldn't leave the floor because a nurse that may have 10 patients across the hall from you, she doesn't have time to take care of your patients. And I remember a particular day at Parkland. I will never, ever forget this. This was in the 90s. It was just when AIDS, there wasn't a cure for AIDS, and there were so many of our patients at Parkland were AIDS patients, and just horrible, horrible sickness. And they didn't have very many visitors. It was so sad. Well, this one particular day, I had to hang blood for the first time. I had a patient, I had to check their blood sugar every 15 minutes. I mean, I had another patient that was had been in jail and was like being tied to his bed, and he kept having to go to the bathroom. And anyway, it was just one thing after another. So I had this AIDS patient who looked homeless. His hair was like down to his waist. He had one tooth, and he was so thin. But he said, Joe, and he knew my name. I made sure I let people know my name. And he said, Joe, would you feed me? And his tray was in front of him. And I said, you know what? I don't have time to feed you. I need to go down the hall and take care of something. If you can wait 15 minutes, I'll be back. Well, he grabbed his tray and threw it at me. And it broke my heart that I didn't have more time than I did. I mean, I didn't have time to stop. So there are just nurses go above and beyond each and every day. And when I went through nursing school, it was the hardest thing I think I've ever done is going through nursing school. I mean, it is no easy schooling. And I have a friend's husband who just was independently wealthy and just loved getting degrees. He had like 7 degrees. He had 3 masters and all these things. Well, he decided at 60 he was going to go to nursing school. So he wound up going to Collin County Community College, and he got his associate's degree, but he wanted that to be on his bucket list. And he said, Joe, of all the degrees I have, the absolute hardest was nursing school.
Wow.
He said it was the hardest. And anyway, so thank you for all you do. I know we've got Nurses Week coming up. But we just need to be more, just remind people of what we do.
Absolutely.
And, women tend to criticize each other. And one thing I learned in nursing school, it was these instructors, I remember there was a nurse, we were getting a report, and one of the nurses that worked at the hospital, we're getting a report before a shift, and she said, this is the only schooling where instructors eat their young. And it was so true. They just gave us such a hard time. I was like stressed out. But anyway, it's just something where nurses need to come together. We're caring for very sick people, and we need to support each other. And that's where we are at Acappella as a team. We just really want our nurses and our staff to know how much we do appreciate them. And, there's no I in team. We work together and do the best we can for our patients.
Yeah, and I think it's too, especially with the nursing week coming up, especially coming from somebody who have utmost respect for nurses, and I mean just all the work that's put in. And I know specifically my sister's a physical therapist, and they are, hand in hand with everything and all of the care that's received in a hospital, even our private duty clients as well. Everybody works together to ensure the highest success rate, of clients not going back to the hospital, which is a huge focus. I know for hospitals is to make sure that the rate of people coming back is low, and that we all work together to ensure that happens. And so I'm so happy that you're here. I'm just thrilled. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a mutual admiration society. I am so thrilled to be here too.
Well, one last thing. I know you won an award at D Magazine.
Oh.
Excellence in Nursing. And will you tell us about that award?
Yes, and I know you won one too.
I did.
I love it.
Yes, she won the year before. I was just honored to be in her company. Now I'm losing track of the year. 2014, I think. Yes. Yes, I won the Healthcare Nurse of the Year or whatever, Nursing Excellence Award for D Magazine, which was a true honor. You're I guess recommended or nominated. Nominated's the word by by patient, and it was wonderful. I've been nominated by several patients, and I didn't think I had a chance. I remember sitting at my table, and Gloria Campos was emceeing, and I had my mother with me and my late husband, and we're just sitting there, and I'm barely paying attention. I don't have a chance. And then they called my name, and they actually just called my name. That just did not happen. And I literally had to sit there and breathe and got up. And it was a huge honor. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Thank you. And to Joe as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that was neat. It really is. It's great to feel recognized for what you do and the hard work. And but congratulations.
Well, congratulations to you too.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and I always feel unworthy. I was like, wow, how is this possible? But I just felt so blessed to be nominated.
Well, it's a total blessing just how the Lord's orchestrated everything, how he has for Acappella right now, for such a time as this. And it's just exciting to see, just where we're going and where we're headed. And Joe's such a wonderful leader and in general, and to have you on the team too. I'm very excited to learn. I learn from Joe all the time. So every day I'm learning something new, and we're just so humbled and honored to have you. And thank you for being our guest today.
Thank you for
on our podcast. We appreciate you.
So, and I want to shout out to the Pajamas for Seniors. We do have a Jammies for Grammys drive going on right now. And then we're going to have a Father's Day drive to we're collecting 500 pair of men's pajamas, medium through 5X. So you can drop those off at our office at 7920 Beltline. Call our office. We can work out picking them up. But we just want to make a difference in the lives of our seniors. And I know Mary is going to make a wonderful difference for not only the Acappella staff, us, but for our seniors in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, y'all. We will see you soon.